Bez Hashem. Okay. Last daf of vacation. Last full daf of vacation tonight. And then back to the grind. Well, half of tomorrow's Amud Bez Hashem is back to the grind. We left off on the top of Tezayin Amud Aleph, correct? Hold on a second.
Rabbi Stein, did anyone else ask you that question?
Oh, so I don't know. Aaron Kaplan, you there? How anybody plan on going to the Spadim tomorrow night in Sheyoshev?
Jacob, that's why I sent you that earlier.
I know. I'm saying anybody
Yeah.
plan on going?
I plan.
Yes, I plan on it.
What is
Anybody
Spain?
else?
Which
And
thing?
And I think Jovi also plans on it. Because we're having a
Yeah,
cigar
who's
after.
speaking by this thing?
Because you're having a cigar after.
In honor of Chaim.
That's what Chaim would have wanted.
Exactly.
Sure.
Chaverschaft.
Tomorrow night, Sheyoshev has Spadim from Rabbi Yeager and Rabbi Man from Bnei Brak. I don't know if he's speaking. If he's not speaking in English, which I can't imagine that he is,
Easy Hebrew.
then I don't know if. Should we switch?
So if you're in English and he's in Hebrew, I'm going to come to your share.
I could try and do Hebrew. You know what? Understanding this yibum is I might as well do it in Hebrew sometimes. It's just.
I was about to say easy Hebrew is like saying easy Yevamos.
It might be better if you do it in Hebrew.
You
If
told me
there's
this is
enough
an
of us-
easy Gemara.
Listen, I don't mind starting the daf at 8 o'clock or whatever it is if the island wants. I don't whatever. Quarter to 8. It's fine by me.
The vacation's over tonight. 8 o'clock's not going to be enough time.
Oh, I'm telling you, you see, we're paying attention.
We'll have to make it work.
Oh, wait a second, Aaron. We're not doing a challenge together. Get together tomorrow night.
If
I
that's
was
what
going to
Chaim-
offer that. I know
that's what
I
Chaim
think
would
Chaim
want.
would want that.
Uh,
If Yaakov, did Chaim realize he'd become like quoted? Now everything's whatever Chaim said.
I don't know.
He's never
I'm
been
just
quoted this much in his life.
for the
One second, Tiago, if we're going on that logic, would Reb Chaim rather you give shir or go to the Hespedim?
I don't know. There is an Indian to go to Hespedim.
That was my question.
There's an Indian to go to Hespedim Vagodol, but if you're not going to understand it, it's a different story.
Jacob, we had the Gemara in what do you call it about stopping to learn to go to Levias and to the thing, no?
Yeah,
That's
so that's-
going to a Levaya.
a Levi is a little different than
Watching, stopping your share and going to a Levaya on Zoom like they did on Sunday doesn't make any sense.
correct. Agreed.
Tiago, maybe you have to give the Hespedim.
What?
What? Like I should say it again, or you don't want to hear it? What?
I'm doing my Hespedim. I'm texting out every day a 2-line.
Every day.
No, I'm saying the island wants to go hear Hespedim. Like, maybe.
Okay.
Jacob
And
Jacob said,
Island wants to
let
learn
them go. Let them go.
There's plenty of things Island wants to do.
What do you say in Blazing Saddles? Lazim gain.
All right. Aaron's going to send out a tweet later whether we'll do it or not. Let's go.
Okay.
Debbie,
Zev is
good to
tired.
have you here tonight.
Anyway,
You saw the line about this story about Reb Chaim. The story about Reb Chaim, he's a person that never stopped learning for 94 years. Everyone else's story is about how they stopped him from learning.
he's very good. I didn't hear that line, but I yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. Anyway, so Yitzi Sontag texted me that his son is in the ER with a bad case of I don't know what stride. I don't know what that is. His 4-month-old. So
Right.
the name is David Gud and Esther Basio for Refuah Shalem. Yitzi Sontag, he's on the daf. Yeah. So again, David Gud and Esther Basio should have a Refuah Shalem. Okay, so now we have quite an interesting daf. At least Amud Aleph. What truth is Amud Aleph and Amud Beis are quite controversial. Well, I mean, yeah, let's see how it goes. We're not going to send out a teaser to get them to pay attention. Let's just fine. So we said this again. Toshima, the top line. Yeah, again, we're starting the top line on Tes Zayin Amud Aleph. So Toshima, Bimei Rebbe Dosa ben Hurkanas. Now it's important. That name is important. Dosa ben Hurkanas. Right? Now Rashi says this Dosa ben Hurkanas was the brother of Reb Dosa. Right? And we wanted to Talmidim of Beis Shammai. Okay, fine. So Toshima, so again, Dosa ben Hurkanas is the name. He made Rabbi Dosa ben Hurkanas Hutra tzaros habas la'achin. He mattered the tzaros habas to the brothers. Shmamina asu. So we hear from this that they did like Beis Shammai, that Beis Shammai practiced what they preached. Shmamina. Right. So again, he mattered the tzara. Again, the tzara is the co-wife, and Beis Shammai disagreed with the entire first Mishnah of the Masechta, and that of course the erva is no yibum and no chalitza, and the tzara Beis Hillel held doesn't is potter, and Beis Shammai said they mattered to do yibum, right? To do yibum to the tzara. So clearly Beis Shammai did it. So Shema Mina. So that's the end of the sugya. Shema Mina, the Taka Beis Shammai did do like they practiced what they preached. So then we had two different camps. We had those that did like Beis Hillel. We had those that did like Beis Shammai. And just to chazer over. So what's with Leisus Guy to do? So he said it's each one in their own section of town. There were two pshatim, either each one in their own town or each one in their own section of town. That's not Leisus Guy to do. Right, and just the chazer, we had a machlokes Rashi and the Rambam. Rashi held that the reason is because looks like two different Torahs. And the Rambam held because it looks like a machlok, that makes machlokes. Right? Okay, so now Gufa, he made Rabbi Dosa ben Hurkanas. Okay, he tiru tzaros habas la'achin. So they said that Dosa ben Hurkanas, Rabbi Dosa ben Hurkanas mattered the tzaros habas to the brothers. Vayadavar kasher l'chachamim, was very difficult to the chachamim. Why? Because he was a big chacham. Ve'enov kamu milavi lebeis hamerish, and his eyes stopped him from coming to the beis medrash, because Rashi says he stopped seeing. Right. Right. So therefore, they weren't able to discuss it with him. I mean, he paskined like Beis Shammai, right? Which Rashi said, well, he was the Talmud of Beis Shammai, but Lamaisa, he was a big gadol, and he paskined like Beis Shammai, and the Chachamim had a big issue with that because he's supposed to paskin like Beis Hillel, and he stopped coming to the Beis Medrash because he couldn't see. So I guess he couldn't see. So what? So therefore, what? There's no point in him coming to Beis Medrash. I'm saying they learned Torah Shabbat Peh back then, no? I thought no, it wasn't. They weren't learning.
He's not there. How can they say something to him?
No, why did he stop coming?
But he couldn't see enough to get there.
That's a pshat because he couldn't see enough to get there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't learn it like that. Nobody could accompany him.
He wasn't rubbish. He didn't have chassidim like that.
I'm sure that
Chaim just had people walking into Beis Medrash every day, so he doesn't do being a rebbe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what the pshat is. Yeah. Anyways, once we're saying refuah shleimus, so there's just somebody who's stopping to see. Howie Bolter also has a lot of health issues, and he can't see, but he should have a refuah shleima. I think he's still in the hospital.
Amen.
But he comes to Beis Medrash every night. Said he's in Yeshiva Hakaway. He's there. It's something for us to learn from. It's unbelievable. Anyways, he should have a refuah shleima. I forgot his tefillim name. But anyways, so I wasn't sure. I thought maybe because it wasn't kedai for him to learn the Beis Medrash. I don't know. Either way, he stopped coming to the Beis Medrash. So Amar. There's different girsayas here. So Amru mi yelech v'yaydiu. Who's going to go? Let him know, right? That there's that we disagree with his psak. Some of the Rabbi Yeshua said, Ani yelech, I'm going to go. V'achar of me, and who's going to go behind him? After him, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. V'achar of me, Rabbi Kiva, and then after him is Rabbi Kiva. Right. So Halchu. 1 second. So why they need 3 people? So I understand they didn't want 1. Because you want more representation. So 2. So I don't know why they needed 3. And also, why couldn't all 3 go at the same time? Right? Why couldn't they all just get up from this Medrash and go at the same time? It went one after the other.
I thought this was like Begeder Hazmana Lebezdin, no? Like that kind of thing.
I don't know. It wasn't. They weren't
separate things before you put them in Chayrim.
what do you mean? This was like coming to each one of them should advise him that
he's giving the wrong passuk. The Chachamim are not masking to him.
Yeah, okay, I hear. I don't know why that's. I'm saying you need a bezdin to go. You need a bezdin to sign that.
The Chachamim were the bezdin. They're sending people to him.
I hear.
They couldn't be masmin him because if he couldn't go to the base, this is the way I learned it. But if he couldn't make it to the base medrash because of his blindness, he's not going to make it to bezdin either.
Right.
But that was covered for bezdin. They couldn't go to him, so they have to send people to him. They have to do 3 azmanas.
I hear.
There's 3 separate azmanas, so they have to do.
Okay, so maybe that's a pshat. I don't know. I didn't have a good pshat with this. I had heard that maybe it would make a ruckus in Besmerish if all 3 big rabbanim got up at once to leave. Maybe Ben Yehoyada says that. I don't know. Either way, so they each one got up. Halchu v'amdu al Pesach Pesach. They went and they stood by the door of his house. Nichnasa shivchasai. The shivcha went in Amralai and she told him, Rebbe, Chachma Yisrael ba'in etzlecha. The Chachma Yisrael are coming here to you. So Amar La Yikansu. So he said to her, let him come in. V'nichnasu, when they came in. Tafsul Rabbi Yeshua, he grabbed onto Rabbi Yeshua, v'yishivu al mita shazam, and he put him on a golden chair. Right? He was, I don't know if he couldn't see, so how did he know who was who? From the voice, I guess. From the voice. Okay, Amar Le Rebbe, Amar Le Talmiduch Achar v'yashuv. So he said, Rebbe, tell your other Talmud to come in and sit down. Amar Le Mihu, who was that? Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Amar v'yesh lo ben Azariah chavirenu. Azariah, our friend, has a son. Kara love hamikra azes, and then he called on him that passuk. Nara yisig hamzakanti v'larisi tzadik nezav azariah v'akashlachem. The song of the daf 2 days in a row, right? He says, I was young, and I also got old, and I never saw a tzaddik who was abandoned and mezarim v'akashlachem, right? And that the children would need bread. So tafsu, so he grabbed onto him, but shiva mita shazav. He also put Elazar ben Azariah on a gold thing, right? So a gold chair. So Amalei Rebbe Emor LeTalmidach Achar v'Yashiv. Go tell your other Talmud to sit down. Amalei Umihu. Who is it? Akiva ben Yosef. It's Akiva ben Yosef. So Amalei Atahu Akiva ben Yosef. Are you the Akiva ben Yosef? Sheshimcha Hailach Misayfa Hailam Atzayfai. That your name, your reputation goes from one end of the world to the other end of the world. Shev b'ni Shev. So please sit down. Right, Kamascha Yerbam b'Yisrael, like you should be many in Klal Yisrael. There should be many like you in Klal Yisrael. Right, so the horror is here is he didn't give him a golden chair though. Right, the other 2 he gave a golden chair, and him he didn't. He didn't give it to Akiva. He gave him big praises, right? But he didn't give him the chair. So the golden chair. So okay. So I don't know exactly why he didn't. But
maybe he only had 2 chairs.
Did he have?
Maybe he only had 2 chairs. No.
Oh, your mom is saying Azak.
They bring down a Marshal that says it's because Rabbi Kiva was Rabbi Shua's Talmud. It wouldn't be covered to Rabbi Shua that Rabbi Kiva was sitting on his own chair. And also Rabbi Shua and it says Rabbi Shua and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah were the Nati and the Av Bezdin. There was chashivas to them. Rabbi Kiva, he wasn't either one. He didn't have either one of those procedures.
Just like Reb Chaim, he didn't have a shul or a yeshiva. He was just Rabbi Akiva.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So but he gave him big praise, right? Anyway, one of the things that one of these handouts that they have with Daf Yomi, interesting Zachin, brings that there's a gematria. Anybody hear this? This is a fascinating gematria. You heard this gematria?
564. 564.
Yeah. Somebody said it this morning. Yeah.
Misayfa, the gematria Misayfa Olam Ad Sayfa is 560. It's really 563, not 564. Is the amount of times that Rebbe Kiva is mentioned in the Mishnayos. Right? The gematria Misayfa Olam Ad Sayfa. It's a pretty interesting one. I don't know who figured that one out. Maybe it's not something like Reb Chaim would figure out, right? But again, Misayf Ha'olam Ad Sayfa is gematria 563, which we say is really 564 because with the koilom, right?
It's Yaakov. Maybe one of the times Akiva's mentioned, it's not really the name Akiva.
The what?
You know the story they're saying over Chaim with Moshe? Maybe one of the names wasn't really Akiva.
No, that's an accurate story, by the way. The Moshe and the Mashe.
But the amount of times it's mentioned in the Torah, I don't know if it's so simple. How many times? I don't know. The way they were saying it over, the amount didn't make sense.
I don't know. I would have to look it up. Anyways, there's also another one with the Rebbe Kiva. The halacha goes to Rebbe Kiva 375 times, and that's the gematria of Shah, that Hashai Medesloi. Right? Wow. Anyways, okay, so there's interesting things. Anyways, so he said, sit down. Fine. And they went and they started to surround him in halachas, meaning they talked different in Yonim, because they didn't want to go straight to the point. Until they got to the sugi of tzaros Abbas. Amrulei, tzaros Abbas mahu. Right? So they said to him, tzaros Abbas, what's your din of tzaros Abbas? Amrulehen, machlokes b'sham v'zilul. Halacha kedivrei mi. So who's halacha like? Amrulehen, halacha k'v'zilul. Halacha is like v'zilul. So Amrulei, v'alei mishimcha amru halacha k'v'shamai. They're saying your name, halacha is like v'shamai. Amr lahem. So he said to them, Dosa shamatim. Did you hear that it was Dosa? Or Ben Hurkanas shamatim. Or did you hear it Ben Hurkanas? Right? It seems like he was used to hearing this. Okay, you had to answer right back at him. Like, okay, did you hear it from the name of Dosa? Or did you hear it from Ben Hurkanas? Amr leh, Chai Rebbe, Stam shamanu. We heard it Stam, which Rashi says that we heard it from Ben Hurkanas. They didn't hear the word Dosa, the name Dosa Ben Hurkanas. So they only heard of Ben Hurkanas, and they assumed that it was Reb Dosa Ben Hurkanas. Amar lahem, ach katan yeshli. I have a younger brother, Bechar Satan who. He's of the Bechar of the Satan. I mean, that's really right. He's the oldest of the Satan. Right? For Yonason Shema, and his name is Yonason.
I heard today Rabbi Resnick says that means that he's just a stubborn kid.
Okay, but I don't know. Okay, what's the connection?
Have you ever had a stubboron child?
Resnick or Rosner?
There's the one that does the quick talk. He's the one that does the quick talk.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Yeah. See, when Rashi says that he's a chorif, he's a sharp one, and he doesn't go. He does his own opinions, and he doesn't go with the rabbin. Right. So again, I don't know what that has to do with a bechor of a satan. Yeah. What?
But Yaakov, they teach Satan as adversary. He was an adversary to everyone else.
Okay, but I don't know what it has to do with Bechor, right? With Bechor. Because he's the top.
He was the first. The creme de la creme when it came to be an adversary. He was the best at it.
I guess so, right? Anyways, okay, so Yonis and Shemai, V'huma Talmidei Shammai, he was the Talmud of Shammai. So was Dosa ben Hurkanas. Dosa ben Hurkanas was also. No? Okay.
You want to know what Satan? Why it's a Satan?
I'm saying the Bechor of the Satan. Now, Satan I understand. It's just the Bechor, like the Bechor. He's the son of the Satan, right? But anyways, so Vizarush, and he says, I'm warning you, he should not disprove you in halachas. He has 300 chuvas to be matir tzaros Abbas. Yeah, so that's quite an interesting thing. He has 300 chuvas to be matir tzaros Abbas, but l'maisa halacha goes like Brazil. But I can be made from the Shemayim and the Oretz, Sha'al Meducha Zu, Yoshav Chagai Hanavi, that on this Meducha is like a thing that crushes things. Chagai Hanavi sat, for Omar Shloisha Dvarim, and he said 3 psukim. He was a Novi. Tzaros Abbas Asura, the Tzara of Abbas is Asur. Amon and Moav Master and Meiser Ani B'Shvius. Amon and Moav do give Meisers in Shvius. We'll get to that soon. And we're Makabel Gerim from the Karduyin and Tarmud. Those are the 3 things that Chagai Hanavi testified with. What?
What are they learning the sugya, or are they trying to pass in the shayla? Chagay and Novi lived how many years before these three people? 600 years, 800 years?
I don't know. We need Shmuley for that, but yeah.
Well,
something.
that's right.
Yeah.
So, like, what are they talking about? So what? Chagay and Novi said it. So is Vos.
I was wondering something else. I was wondering that how is Beis Shammai arguing on a Novi?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that what you mean? That's
well, I mean, that's if they're talking in learning, so they're talking in learning. But if they're trying to prove for halacha, so Beis Shammai they never accepted this from a Navi.
Right. Oh.
It's not a nevuah.
I mean, it doesn't mean it's a Navi, but a Navi said it. But who cares if it's a nevuah or not? But a Navi said it.
Okay, so he was a Tana.
Well, okay. No, he was not a Tana.
So they argue with other. He was what was before Tana?
I don't know. He's not earlier than Tanaim.
Well, the Zugim took place earlier than the Tanaim.
The Zugim, but they had the din of Tanaim also, really.
He didn't. Right. He wasn't before that.
Navi's before that. Yes.
No.
Yeah.
He didn't stop by the end of by the beginning of right before Bayis Sheni.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. There might be a teretz on Amud Beis, on the Tosfos on Amud Beis. There might be an answer to this question. Either way, so let's see. So Tana, when they all came in to Reb Dosa and Hurkanas, they all came in the same door. When they left through three different doors. Right? Now Tosfos has two different pshatim, mamish the opposites of each other. The second Tosfos down says two pshatim why they leave three different doors. His first pshat is because they didn't want this Yonason guy who clearly was an Eloi to find them and to disprove all three of them. Right? Now the interesting part of the Tosfos says, and if he did, then they'd have to be kaveh halacha like him. Like, well, I understand, because them three, I guess they were the biggest, but that's not enough to go change the halacha. I mean, there's a whole lot of other rabbanim, right?
Wouldn't they have had a din of a bezdin?
Maybe, but and if so, and 1 second, and if Taka he disproves them, so why are they avoiding him? If that's the emes, then that's the emes.
Oh, unless you say already passed.
Unless you say
Yaakov,
so they could change their minds. I understand they could change their minds. They can't change their minds.
Well, when you're Moshe with artificial insemination.
Well, with the Satmar Rebbe. Yeah. But this is the opposite of that. This is
right.
This is where we're afraid that I don't understand. It sounds like it's almost stacked against it. The decision was made. The decision was made. Okay. I don't know. Why, Gershon, what do you want to say?
The Chachamim sent these three. So whoever the Chachamim were, they were all maskim originally. The halacha was K'beis Hillel. But now if these three were to be together, and he would have found them and they all would have been maskim,
then they would have a problem.
Really would have had a din bezdin against Yechidim.
Good, so
they would have had to, but it would have forced everyone else to pass like Beis Shammai.
Good news. So, and if he had 300 chuvas to prove himself right, so listen to what he has to say. Unless I'm being a liberal American now, maybe I'm just totally krum, which could very well be, right? You know what I'm saying? But if we're trying to get down to the emes, and this fellow has 300 chuvas, so what? We should all go out a different door so that he can't get us.
That doesn't
make him go to the Chachamim. You can't go backwards to the
it doesn't make him right.
Have them force. You can't have them force the Chachamim.
But if he slugs them up and he proves them, they all mask him to him, so then that means that does prove him right.
Didn't they?
No, it means that they have to agree to him, not that the whole Chachamim have to agree to him.
Good, but if they agree,
forces them together as a bezdin, that would force everyone to pass him like that.
No, so what's wrong? If they're the representatives,
then he should go to the head, not to the bottom.
Good, so then they'll take him and they'll come to the bezdin. They'll say, "Hey, come with us to the shul, to the yeshiva, and let's tell the olam yatainas, and maybe we'll change a psak."
They are the head. We're dealing with the people that are the head.
Okay, good. They're not the head, so they're just representatives. So good, but if he's saying good tinus, so then Imagine you had a shiloh. Imagine you had a
Yeah,
with a Rav, and the Rav says, I don't want to talk to you about the passuk because you might change my passuk. You won't talk to that Rav again.
Yeah, but imagine you have a very charismatic Jew for Jesus, and you know that he's going to try and convince you. He's got 300 reasons why you should join his cult. If it's not the truth, if it's not the MS, you're going to avoid him.
So is that but they're not gonna but there's no way to slug him up. You're saying that there's no way to slug him up. I guess maybe
the way you slug him up is you have Chagai.
I understand. Okay.
Didn't they say all along that Beis Shammai's svaras were better than Beis Hillel? Just Beis Hillel outnumbered them. Is that don't we say that? Which I don't understand either, but that's not the point.
Okay.
So what's the difference now? What's the difference?
That's what I'm saying. So no, I would have no problem if Tosfos said they wanted to avoid him because they didn't want to fight with him. That I understand. That makes sense. We're not going to paskin like him. We don't want to fight with him. Fine. But then Tosfos says, he adds those few words and he said, Yitztarchu l'kvoya halacha k'maisai. We're gonna need to be kaveh halacha like him. What do you mean you're gonna need to? See, if Avi, it's like what you're saying. We're not gonna do it anyway. So we're not gonna need to. If we fight with you, why are you gonna need to? You're a das yachid. You may have 300 chuvas, but so what? We have Chagai on our side and a Pascal. So what are you worried about? It's good to learn.
He's gonna plant. Well, he'll plant the seed of doubt. He's that sharp. He's the bachor.
Okay, but I'm saying just an interesting terminology. You say v'yitztarchu l'kvaya. Okay, whatever. Anyways. Yeah, it's a good break from the regular Yevamos to stop. I do have to say.
Avi, make up your mind. Avi, make up your mind. Is he a Molek or is he Yoshka? You keep on going back and forth.
He's saying he's not a good guy. That's what he means.
I didn't say a Molek.
You said he put suffix. He made a suffix.
Oh, you're talking about because
so you're darshaning about how
I'm darshaning and I'm listening with bated breath to what you're saying.
Clearly. Wow.
That's a pretty good madrega. That's a pretty good one. Anyways, then you have the other pshat, the opposite. The Inami Tosfos says they went out 3 doors so that one of them should meet him. Meaning total opposite pshat. They wanted to meet. The first pshat is they were avoiding him. The second one is that Adarabah, they wanted to make sure to try and get him. Either way, so they got him, right? Rabbi Kiva got him. So it's back into Gemara. So again, Satana k'shenichlatzu pesach echad k'sheyatzu b'shloshim sacham. We're 4 wide lines down. Paga by Rabbi Kiva. So he met Rabbi Kiva. Akshi leva v'ukmei. He asked Rabbi Kiva, and he ukmei, and he got him. He slugged up Rabbi Kiva. So Amar Loi. So this Yonason said to Rabbi Kiva, Atahu Akiva sheshimcha ha'ilach m'sayfa ha'ilach m'sayfa. Are you the Akiva whose name goes from one end of the world to the other end of the world? Praised are you that you got this reputation. But you're not even on the level of a shepherd of how do you call it? Cattle. Yeah. So that's quite a big shtoch right there. So Amar Loi Rabbi Kiva, no, I didn't even reach Royet Tzayin, which is a less of a level than Royet Bakar, right? That's like a guy that's in charge of the large vehicles, and he's saying, no, I'm not even in charge of the small vehicles, right? So it was an anivas from Rabbi Kiva, right? Which could mean he just blew him off, and the Rabbi Kiva was like, yeah, whatever you say. I mean, that's sort of that type of thing. Okay, whatever. That's the end of the story. Fine. Now, so we said 3 things Chagai said. One was tzaros bas. Tzaros, how we called it? Tzaros bas? Yeah, tzaros bas. Then there was Amon and Moav ma'aser ma'aser ani b'shvius. So Amon and Moav did ma'aser ani b'shvius. What does that mean? Damar mar harbe krachim kavshu oile Mitzrayim. So when the oile Mitzrayim, when they first came into Eretz Yisrael, they conquered a lot of cities. But like kavshu oile Bavel, and when they went into galus Bavel, right, which is mamish after Purim, whatever, after the 70 years of the Purim story, they went back up from Bavel. They did not conquer all the cities that were previously conquered for Eretz Yisrael, meaning, and they Mamela didn't have the new kiddushin. Kedusha Rishayna, Kedusha L'Shaita, and the first Kedusha when they moved into Eretz Yisrael was a Kedusha for temporary, for that time. But like and it wasn't kadosh forever. So that's why when they came back up from Bavel, they did not they didn't make the Amon and Moav kadosh again. So therefore, it did not retain its original kedusha. And why didn't they? Why didn't they make it kadosh? And they left them so that during Shemitah, the Aniyim would be able to go there and work the land, because in Shemitah everything is hefker, so there was no working the land. So the Aniyim had no way to make any parnasa. So what they did is they made for Amon and Moav, they made that doesn't have kedusha, so therefore there's no Shemitah there, and then the Aniyim could work there. I guess back then the Aniyim, they didn't have the big collecting campaign for just the farmers, and they needed to do something about the Aniyim. So that's that's how they took care of it.
But see, Rashi also says that they're able to take leket shikha peah. There's still mechuyev in leket shikha peah.
Yes, when the leket shikha peah is only when there's no shemitah.
But it's not. If it's kedusha l'shaita, it's not mechuyev in anything.
What?
Kedusha l'shaita. Why would it be mechuyev in leket shikha peah?
What do you mean? Leket shikha peah nothing to do with Eretz Yisrael.
You're saying any farmer in America is mechuyev in leket shikha peah?
I think Bismana Mikdash, no, isn't it? Has it gone?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I thought Bismana Mikdash, now not. But
why would it matter?
I think because there are some things
it wasn't
that have to do with
the land.
Some things have to do when Roiv of Klal Yisrael's back in their land is in Eretz Yisrael, then things are going to come back. So it could be that's what it was. Then that's what I'm assuming it was.
It wasn't in Eretz Yisrael. The land of Eretz Yisrael is
no. There's different levels of things. Some are when Roiv of Klal Yisrael. I think even I'm not remembering which one.
Is Chadash and Yashin?
No, Chadash and Yashin is in Chutz La'aretz.
That Bisman HaMikdash or Bisman Hazeh? It's Shaila, no?
Well, it's definitely not the Raisa, right? No,
I thought that was the Machlekes. Bisman HaMikdash, even B'chutz La'aretz, it might be the Raisa.
Bisman HaMikdash, right.
So that's the same machlekes, I think, with leket shikha and peah.
Yeah, but
all the elements.
Is it the same machlekes? I'm remembering which is on the list of what's. Okay, could be. I just don't remember. Could be. It has to be l'chayr from this Gemara. Not. I'm saying, fine. And then the last thing is makabel gerim and karduyim v'tarmudim. They were makabel gerim from the Talmudim, karduyim v'tarmudim. Any, it's not true. Fatani Rabbi Bar Yecheskel ain't makabel gerim and karduyim. We're not makabel gerim from karduyim, so it's a stira to Chagai. So Ravashi said kartuyim itmar with a tough. Kedamri inchi kartuyim psulim. Kartuyim apostle, not karduyim. Yeah. So that's just a difference in the names. Vikadamri tani Rabbi Cheskel ein mekalim gerim min kartuyim. We're not mekalim gerim from kartuyim. My love hainu kartuyim hainu karduyim. They're the same thing, even though one is spelled with a tough, one is spelled with a dalid. So Ravashi. No, it's not true. The kartuyi are one, and the kartuyi are one. Kedamri inchi kartuyi psili. The kartuyi are puzzle. Fine. Rabbi Yochanan and Savia. That's an interesting name. We don't come across that too often, right? They both held Amri Tavayo. They both said, "Ein makabel gerim in the Talmudim." We're not makabel gerim from Talmudim. Now, isn't that fakert from Chagai? Right, that's Rabbi Yochanan saying fakir from a navi, right, Rabbaran? This is yeah. So let's hold off. Let's get to the Taisus is on Amud Beis. It belongs on Amud Aleph, but it's on Amud Beis. So then let's just see the kasha verse. Did Rabbi Yochanan really say this, that we're not makabel gerim? We're going to say that they would be, but now we learned in the Mishnah. Now just the hakdama for the Mishnah, right? So really, a female does not have tumas nida. Right, but the Rabbanan made a gezerah of that there is tumas nida when the dam is still wet, there's tumas nida. Right, but when it's dry, they have no dinam of ksamim. Right, so it says the Mishnah, Vatanan kol ksamim b'aymin are rekem tahir. Any kesem that comes from rekem is going to become tahor because stains from goyim, they didn't make a gzeira on. They only made gzeira on ksamim of yidden, not in gzeira on ksamim from goyim. From Yehuda matama, but Yehuda said tamei. Why? Because what happened was they were gerim, v'toyim, and then they went and they went off the derech. They became gerim, and then they went off the derech, right? But because even though they went off the derech, once you're a yid, you're always a yid, right? So therefore they made the gzeira, right?
They wanted to get the speaking engagements.
Oh, maybe, yeah, yeah. But if it comes from goyim, then it's their tar. And the Gemara discussed on Talmud base kapasuk v'tani when it says that stains that come from amongst the goyim, bafilum and Tarmud, even from Tarmud, right? So you see that we're going to be makabel gerim from Tarmud. Yeah, so you see that we are makabel gerim from Tarmud. Meaning, what do you mean we're makabel gerim from Tarmud? Why wouldn't it be makabel gerim from Tarmud? The reason is because we're going to see later on the Amud is because sometimes we're afraid that they're really yidden that went off the derech and they're really mamzerim. Their kids are mamzerim, right? So therefore, we don't want to be makabel them into Klal Yisrael because now we're going to have a mamzer issue, right? So whatever it is, R Yochanan here says they are makabel gerim. So didn't we just say R Yochanan says we're not makabel gerim? So Gemara says v'chitem is zayis v'lois svirulei, right? If you say then he says zayis, he's saying this is what they're saying, but R Yochanan himself doesn't hold it. R Yochanan halacha is stam mishnah, halacha is like stam mishnah. So you see that he would hold that you would be able to be makabel gerim. So the Gemara answers on my right, it's a machlokes on my right as to what Rabbi Yochanan held, right? So it's a machlokes whether Rabbi Yochanan allowed gerim from Tarmud or not. So you look at the top Tosfos, right? Tosfos says, "Tema hechi pali Rabbi Yochanan achagai hanavi." How could Rabbi Yochanan disagree with Chagai hanavi? B'shema savar Rabbi Yochanan shalai amra chagai me'olam. It's a misquote, right? Which is pretty, I'm saying it's pretty wild. They say, Rabbi Yochanan say, Chagai never said it, right? So instead of saying, so Reb Dosa ben Hurkanas said 3 things Chagai said, and Rabbi Yochanan is going to say, no, he didn't say it. So maybe that's what Beis Shammai also said. You know what? If you're saying he didn't say this, so I'm saying he didn't say tzaros pas either, right? Okay, I'm saying that's, okay, that's what happens by machlokes. Did he say it? Did Reb Chaim say it? Did he not say it? Right? Yeah. So, anyways,
talking about Reb Chaim and this name Savia, I think one of the fairs Reb Chaim used to give people through Shas was that every Masechta has the name of an Amayra that doesn't appear anywhere else in Shas. I think this might be the one from Yevamos, Savia.
Is that so?
I think.
Interesting. Okay, well, we're gonna have so fine. So let's see. So mitarmud, my time alloy. So how come Yitaka wouldn't take gerim from Tarmud? So pligi Rav Yochanan v'Sabia, right? Rav Yochanan and now before they agreed, now they're disagreeing, right? So the machlokes Rav Yochanan and Sabia. Chadam or Mishum Avdei Shloima. One said because of Avodim of Shloima. Now what is Avodim of Shloima? So Rashi says the Shloima's Avodim, they were very wealthy. So they were able to marry the Jewish girls, right? And they lived there as they lived with the Jewish women as goyim, right? And he held, which we're going to see weiter in the daf, that a goy, a goyish father and a Jewish mother makes mamzeres. So if then we don't paskin like that, right? There's a lot of them. We have a lot floating around like that, right? So then it doesn't make mamzeres. So he held it does make mamzeres. So if it makes mamzeres, how can you let them become gerim, right? Maybe they're all mamzerim, right? And that would be a problem. So that's what it means, Mishum Avdei Shloimo. And some said because it was the B'nai Yerushalayim. What's that? So we'll get to that in a minute. So Bishlam Lamada Mishum Avdei Shloimo Kasavra Oivik Chacham Ve'Eved Abba Bas Yisrael Vlad Mamzer. Right. So if a guy or an Eved sleeps with a Bas Yisrael, the Vlad is a Mamzer. No, but the Mandomer that says Benois Yerushalayim, what is that? So Pligi bar Rav Yosef Rabbanon. They have the Machlekes of Yosef Rabbanon, but the Vayim the Rabbi bar Rav Chana. They both say in the name of Rabbi Rav Chana. Chad Amar Tracer Alfi Gavri. There were 12,000 men. The Shis Alfi Kashusi and 6,000 keshes that had a bow and arrow. The Chad Amar, so it was for a total of 18,000. The Chad Amar Tracer Alfi Gavri. There was 12,000 men. Uminayu Shisa Alfi Kashu, and from those 12,000, 6,000 had bows and arrows, right? So therefore, and whatever it is, so that was the machlokes, whether it was 12 or 18,000. Fine. When the goyim came into the heichal, hakol nifnu al kesav azav. Everybody went after the gold and the silver that was in the Beis Hamikdash. Vehem nifnu al b'nais Yerushalayim. So they were munavalim. So they went after the girls. Shenemar nashim b'tziyayin inu b'sulais b'ara Yehuda. They went and they caused pain to the women in Zion and the b'sulas of Ara Yehuda. Right? So therefore, so now all these people the Tarmud were having kids with yidum, with Yiddish ladies, which was said before makes mamzerim. So therefore, they decided that Rabbi Yochanan decided we're not taking anybody in from Tarmud, right? Fine. So then Amar of Shmuel bar Nachmani. So that's the end of that. We'll get back to that in a few minutes. Yeah.
Isn't this the way? It's funny that you have mamash from mikatza lakatza. This goyim make mamzerim, and therefore we can't have them as gerim. Isn't this the way that we're matir mamzerim into Klal Yisrael ultimately? Marry them to a goy or an aved? Isn't that the eitzah?
There was an eitzah with the aved. I know there's an eitzah with.
I think this is the eitzah. Doing this and then bring them back in. Something like this, along these lines.
Well, Gershon, you better tell somebody there in Israel about the Russians and the Ukrainians.
Yeah. That is a concern, right? Yeah. Okay. Whatever. The Tosfos here actually says, what would be the havamina to say that they're mamzerim? It's not even clear that it's aser, right? Which is a really wild thing to learn. But it's not even clear that it's aser for a guy to be boil a Jewish woman. I mean, it's aser, right? It's aser, but it's not clear what the isser is. Certainly not isser deraisa. Okay, whatever it is, that's a different topic. Okay, so let's see. So the second one, Amar Shur Nachmani Amar Yainison, pasuk zeh Sara Olam Amud. This pasuk, the Sar HaOlam said. It's almost like what they call Reb Chaim, right? The Sara Torah. Yeah, so Sara Olam said, who the Sara Olam? The Sara Olam is some sort of malach, because it says Nara Yisi Gam Zakanti, right? I was young and I was also old. So who could say Man Omre? Who could have said this? If it's Hashem talking, Mika Zikna Kameh, how could be Gam Zakanti? Is there such a thing as the Hashem getting old? Bella David Amre, must be David said it. Well, it didn't tell him, right? So me Koshish Kulei, David didn't live all that long. Elishma Mina, Sarah Olam Amru, must be the Sarah Olam who was around from the beginning of the world to the end of the world. Fine. So that's one thing. What does it say in the passuk? Yodai Paras Tsar Al Kol Machamadeh. His hand spread out on all the love things, right? Amon and Moav, that's talking about Amon and Moav. Why? When the goyim came into the Beis Hamikdash, hakol nifnu al kesef azav. Everybody went after the gold and silver. Nifnu al Sefer Torah. They went after the Sefer Torah. Amru, and they said, this that it says in the Torah, lo yavai amani ma'avi b'kal Hashem yisaref be'esh. Right? This Torah here that says that nobody should marry Amon and Moav should be burned with fire. Right? So they were trying. They had a vendetta to go burn this Torah. So Tziva Hashem liYaakov Sviva Tzar. What's another passuk? It says that Hashem commanded Yaakov, not commanded. I guess that's the lashon, that's the taich, but Sviva of Tzarav, that Hashem commanded that there's always going to be people around Yidden causing them tsar. Well, doesn't really mean tsar, but it means that they were, how do you call it? A siege, right? Samarav going Humniya lefumnara. We're talking about Humniya lefumnara, because Humniya was a country right next to Fumnara. Fumnara had the Yidden in it, and the people from Humniya were always harassing the people from Fumnara. Yeah, fine. So Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav Asi, I become Shekidish Bizman Hazeh. If a guy comes and he marries a Yid, a lady, Chayshishin the kiddushin, we don't allow the kiddushin, right? Yeah. Shema, why Maseres HaShvatim who? Because he might be from the Aseres HaShvatim, and therefore, if he's from the Aseres HaShvatim, then they married Goyim, right? And that we said before that a Yid marries a Goy, it makes a mamzer. So how can we let them get married, right? So we don't know. Maybe it's marrying a mamzer where the marriage doesn't work. So as long as after the Aseres HaShvatim went off, so then we can no longer have any Gerim marry Yidden. So Gemara says, "Well, called the parish Meruba parish." Right? We know in Hilchas Kashrus that anything that gets separated comes to the majority. So the majority of people, right, are not from the Aseres HaShvatim. So we don't have to be worried about this guy being a mamzer, right? So Gemara says, "But we're talking about only in the places where the Aseres HaShvatim are there. So since it's there, and they're getting married in that city, so then that's considered kavua, and we know the rule is called kavua kamertza mertza, meaning, again, this is the standard kashrus shaila, right? You find a piece of meat in the street. Where does it come from? Right? The piece is right. So do we say that it comes to, let's say there's 9 kosher butcher stores and 1 treifa butcher store. So if you find it in the street, so then that's called parish. So we say it comes from the majority. So therefore it will be kosher. But if you find a piece of meat in the store and you don't remember, or do you masupik which store you got it from, that's a better example. You have a piece of meat in your hand, you don't remember, did I get this from the treifa butcher store or the kosher? So that's considered the shaila started in the store itself. That's called kavua, and therefore it's a 50-50 chance, and we know 50-50, you got to be machmir. So in the towns that the Aseres HaShvatim went to, so there's marriage, so they get married over there, so it's considered kavua, and we have to say it's a 50-50 chance, therefore we cannot let the marriage go through. But in the rest of the world, then we do allow it, which is why we accept Gerim nowadays. Right? Fine. The Amar Rav Abba Bar Kana, Rav Abba says, Vayanchem b'chalach v'chover nahar goyzen v'ari modai. Right? So then they lived in the names of all these cities. So what are these cities? Chala zechilazon. Right? V'chover, on to the next stop. V'chover zu chadayev. Right? Nahar goyzen zu ginzik. V'ari modai zu chemden v'chevresah. That's chemden and it's chevre and it's friends. V'amrila zu nihar v'chevresah. Nihar v'chevresah. Chevresah man. What are the chevresah? What are the sister cities? Amashmuel. Kerech, Moshre, Chiti, V'Dumakia. It almost sounds like Ukraine, right? So R Yochanan, V'Kulan, L'Psul, and what it means is that they're all puzzle, right? All these places are that we have to be chayshed that the women came from the Aseres HaShvatim, and since they came from the Aseres HaShvatim, then you're not allowed to. Then they're all puzzle, right? So that's fine. So that's. Okay, but nowadays we don't because we consider it from the majority, so we go with the majority, and then we don't assume that they're mamzer. Okay, we'll stop over here. We should hear Basuras Taivas, and I guess tomorrow we'll post out what time we'll start. Yeah. All right. Fine.
Shkoyach.
All right.
Thank you.
Shkoyach.
Good night.